Welcome to the Glitter Boom Girls podcast. We're talking today about childhood fears. I'm Robbie-Ann McPherson on the East Coast.
I'm Amy Asberg on the West Coast.
And we are just jumping right into it because there's a lot of ground to cover here. Okay, so I'm gonna just start things off because I've been dying to talk about this for I don't know, 40 years. There's a movie called The Boogens.
The Boogens. How do you spell that?
Boogens. The Boogens.
I would have thought INS, but okay. ENS. Well, the Boogens.
Yeah. And
okay.
This film came out in like 1981. I'm pretty sure it was 1981.
That's a good year for horror.
Yeah, and it is all things 1981 too. Like,
oh my goodness!
You know the characters, the way they dress, the way they talk.
Oh, shorts? Are there lots of like running shorts?
No, because here's the thing: it's set in a wintry mountain town.
Oh my goodness!
Right.
Wait, so what's 1981 winter look like?
You got like a Chevy Blazer, you've got a Ford truck, there's those kinds of things. Are there
puffer jackets?
There are puffer vests.
Yeah, okay. Right? Now I'm in. Now I get it.
Right.
But on the puffer vest, are there like a little embellished, like little V or a stripe of sorts?
You know what? I think somebody does have one of those.
And there should be some corduroys in there if we're
There
in
are tons of corduroys.
Okay.
It's corduroys. Corduroys, all the corduroys. Okay. So here's the thing about the Boogens, besides the fact that it is one of my favorite, I think it ties with Halloween as my favorite like late 70s, early 80s horror movie.
So you like to be scared.
Well,
or you did.
I like to be scared when I know it's just a movie. Okay. I don't want to watch like Forensic Files. I want to watch, especially when I was a kid, I liked watching scary movies. And the thing about the Boogens is the monster is in the basement.
Wait, there's a monster?
There's a monster. It's like a scary, sort of reptilian thing, but it lives down in the basement of this house where these young, late 20s-ish kids are staying at this house at a ski resort. And it's like a, early B&B type deal, right? Or Airbnb, they call it. So they stay in this house, and this monster lives in the basement, which is it's like a stony old house type basement where there aren't actual walls. It's like stone and like, cement floor and stuff like that. It's not a finished basement. And we had a basement just like that.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I know that's kind of a long explanation, but when I was a little kid, I had a natural fear of the basement. The basement's dark. You don't know what's under there. There's weird noises coming out, and all that kind of stuff. But I always figured there were monsters down there, and then I saw the Boogens, and I knew it. And I was pretty convinced that just like the Boogens, where there was this boarded up mine shaft entryway, and that's how the monster got in the basement.
Oh my gosh.
I was pretty convinced that we also had one of those in our basement. So that to me is one of the ultimate childhood fears, is just the basement. Anybody's basement, your basement, my basement, unless it's like a finished playroom, which we never had. We always had like the scary, cobwebby, damp, stone-walled, old-timey basement.
I have a question about monsters, though, as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Does a monster, is what makes it a monster the fact that it has 2 arms and 2 legs? Does it have to have a human quality to it? Can it be a blob? What makes something a monster? Does it have eyes?
You know, that's an interesting question. I think there are two parts to that question. I think one is like physically what is a monster, but two is in your child mind. You know,
Yes.
what is the monster? Like to me, anything that was not human
Okay.
and was trying to kill me or eat me, that was a monster.
Okay. Okay.
You know, there maybe like anyone else would be like a murderer, you know,
Correct,
or
because they
something
would be
like that.
human, but a monster is not human.
Right.
And it does have, I feel like a monster has two arms and two legs, maybe different sizes, maybe, but it's something that runs after you and it's
Yeah.
kind of in human form in my head.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, in my mind,
Because if it's floating, it's like a ghost, or if it's from the outer space, it's an alien. I feel like there's other names for other scary
like a
things.
creature, like the Boogens is a it's a well, if you've studied this movie like I have, like I love this movie. Okay, so I've watched the DVD commentary. I mean, I
I need to know,
freaking
what does
love
that
this movie.
monster look like?
Well, that's the thing. The filmmakers did not have quite the budget and the bandwidth to create the monster that they really wanted. So the monster they got, and they were only able to create one, you know, where
Mm.
normally in a movie you'd have like a whole bunch of monsters. They were only able to create one. And let's just say it didn't really turn out probably the way everybody hoped, you know? And
Okay.
I don't mean to take away from the artists who created the monster or from the filmmakers because I freaking love this movie. But,
Sure, of course.
you know, when you have budget limitations and all these things, you might want it to have like animated eyes, but it can't. Or maybe you wanted to use this material, but you couldn't, and you know, stuff like that. So here's what the filmmakers did that was so clever, and this is why the movie's so scary, and this is why it traumatized me. And I knew that this thing lived in the
Uh-huh.
basement because you don't see it until like the end of the movie.
All right, so
The
be honest. What did this thing look like?
Well, it looks like a giant. It looks like a combination of a giant eel and a turtle.
Ew, an eel. Oh, that just gets me. If it's anything that's
Yeah.
like snake-like or
Well,
like
no, because it has like it's
slithering.
like a snake. It's like an eel
Oh,
head on a turtle, like a
oh
tur.
gosh. Okay, that
But
would get me.
and it has these like talon like, uh,
Oh,
you know, uh, almost like an octopus, but with a bird claw at the end of it. You know, I mean,
oh my gosh.
it's a creature. It's not a species that is known to anybody. You know, but
A,
just so you know, they live in the mine shaft underneath the city of Silver Springs, Colorado.
ugh.
And when they blasted to create a new, you know, when they started mining in this new area, that's what woke them all up. Uh huh. And then
Whoa,
they
that's
started popping
cool.
out, and they come out the hole in the basement wall at this house. And they, you know, if you took a
Ooh,
shower or you had sex or you said, I'll be right back, it ate you. That was the whole, and it wasn't,
no.
but the way they shot it, it was so cool because they would shoot it from the Boogens' point of view, you know, so it's
Oh,
like
I
the
can
monster's
picture.
coming at you, you know, or they would just, you know, you would hear it going, "Bwah," and I mean, listen, everybody, you guys have to find it. It's on YouTube or go buy the DVD, you know, whatever. If
So were these
you
unknown actors that graced the set of the Boogens?
Yeah. Well, if you watch it, they're faces that you would recognize.
Like on
Um.
the Love Boat in later
Yeah. Yeah.
years?
Exactly. Exactly. And they're wonderful, wonderful actors. And the cinematography is actually pretty cool in this
All
movie.
right. I'm gonna hold you to that when I
Yeah.
look this up.
There's a lot of location stuff, and the fact that it's wintry, and I grew up in Buffalo, and you know, I just, but it really cemented the idea to me that, you know, there's some scary shit in the basement. Like that was frightening. So, well, how about you, Aim? Like going back to your childhood, what scared the daylights out of you?
I did not watch scary movies. I was like, I noped right out of those. But I was scared when I was very young of the escalator. There was like a red light under the escalator. I don't remember even why I was on an escalator, but I thought it was hell down there. I thought the devil resided underneath the escalator. And one time my shoelace got caught. And I kept having dreams that I would be like, woo, I would go inside where the light is and it would eat me up and my shoelace would pull me down.
So it snatched you.
I got snatched, girl.
It reached up and snatched your shoelace.
That's right. The devil lived inside the escalator. That was one thing.
Now, can I just break that down here?
Yes,
because,
sure.
Okay, so we're talking an escalator at what? At the mall? At a store?
Gosh, where was I on an escalator when I was that young? I believe I was in Colorado. We lived there for 1 year. It was in some kind of a department store.
Okay. And was it only that escalator or was it any escalator?
It became all escalators after my shoelace got caught. I thought, I am not going on one of those things where the devil catches me and sucks me down into this thing.
Right. And did somebody suggest to you that the devil lived under there, or that was something you realized on your own?
No, I think it's because it was red. And I think the way I got sight of the devil was on Tom and Jerry and the old 40s cartoons. There was always flames and, Tom or somebody in some kind of a red suit with a tail.
Right.
So I got a little glimpse of what it would look like, and it was red and glowing. And then what did I see under that escalator? Red and glowing.
There it was. Hell. The entry to hell.
It
tried to get you.
Gosh. It tried to get me.
Yeah. That's okay. I get why. I mean, that would probably traumatize me too. What was the second one?
Second one was the theme song to Get Smart. Get Smart scared the tar out of me because it would come on, I believe, at 9 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night, whenever my bedtime was. So I'm kind of drifting off to sleep. My mother goes and watches Get Smart. I don't know. This is just the lineup of 1978. All right.
Okay.
So do 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 do. Anyway, that's on. I'm drifting off to sleep, and somebody flushes a toilet in my home. And my brain, hearing the toilet flush and that song in my brain, I had this awful nightmare. My mother started going down this thing. She was going down this big whirlpool.
Swirl.
And I was like, no. And that song was in the background. And it was the most real thing. And the flushing sound, my head kind of just pictured her going down this big whirlpool.
Yeah.
And it scared me so terribly, guys. For maybe 2, 3, 4 years after, I was deathly afraid of that song.
So you had like a visceral reaction when you heard the song?
I was plucked. Yes, it was scary. I didn't like it. And it scared me very terribly.
PTSD.
And that lined up with the year that someone tried to abduct me in a supermarket.
Oh my God. Was this before or after the escalator?
This is all around the same year. So I am in a grocery store. My mother would let me run around to the toy section where you have the little fingernails that you pop on your nails.
Yeah.
And
which is also the cereal aisle.
The cereal aisle, the little Woolly Willy where you like the magnet you trace, you put the guy's beard on. Yeah. And then there was this kind of just this piece of plastic against this wax board, and you could write on it with a little pen and then pull it.
Yeah.
And all your writing went away. That was my first clipboard where I bossed people around. So you're welcome, everybody. I'd be like, okay, you over here, you over there. Anyway, I went to go look at the toys, and these two men who, both of them had an afro. They both looked like they were straight off the set of Welcome Back, Kotter. One of them kind of looked like Gabe Kaplan. Is that his name? Anyway, they looked like Starsky and Hutch. They had these like popped collars and these kind of bell bottoms, and they were crouching down and they were going, "What's your name? Come here. What's your name?" And they both were kind of going, and I remember just freezing and thinking, "Ooh, I should tell them like a different name. I could say any name right now." It was like,
yeah,
ooh,
that's smart though.
My mom's name. But anyway, I ran, but I could just see them salivating. And then after that, I basically just had dreams of being abducted, people carried me out of the grocery store, not being able to find my mother. So altogether, I kind of blended those things together, and I think the Get Smart song scared me the most.
So if you were riding an elevator and you saw Mr. Kotter and heard the Get Smart song, you would pretty much explode.
I would turn to stone and shatter just through the air. Yeah,
That's interesting. Interesting to me too that it all sort of culminated in that 1 year, which makes me wonder which was first, the escalator or Mr. Cotter or the
first escalator, then Mr. Cotter, then me losing my mom because
because of
me
Get
not being
Smart.
able to find my mom was kind of what happened when the guys were trying to get me to come toward them.
Right,
I wasn't
right,
with my mom, and then I had this thing like, hey, where is my mom? You know? But I
right.
had wandered off in her defense.
Okay, so I think then that what happened was the devil grabbed your shoelace
Hmm.
on the escalator and was not able to pull you down to hell.
Yeah.
And he sent this Mr. Cotter look-alike kidnap guy and his partner to
Uh-huh.
to get you. And then when that didn't work, he flushed the toilet in your house
That's right.
while the theme from Get Smart was playing. And basically that was like his final attempt, to get to you. And
It scared me so badly.
yeah, I don't blame you. And when you're a little kid too, the fear is so absolute. It's not like when you grow up and you have like a little anxiety or you have a worry. Like, we're not talking about worries here. We're talking about childhood terrors, you know? And my thing, my thing was mostly uh, TV shows that I watched and just imprinted on my little brain for some reason. Like, there was a TV movie called Let's Scare Jessica to Death.
What?
That's another one, folks, that you should check out because, damn. Still, I watched it the other day and it's still scary. Scary as hell. It's kind of it's a bit of a zombie type movie where,
Oh,
this couple, they had a rough time and they moved to this small town on a lake and, it's a really pretty house and la da 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 da, and the wife just needs some quiet cuz she had like a nervous breakdown. Well, then it turns out that some zombie is like, biting the necks of all the townspeople. And it's just really scary and really well done. But I remember so clearly this one shot of this guy. Like, she runs up to him and she's terrified and she sees this guy and, oh my God, it's help, right? Like, oh, there he is. It's like the sheriff or something. And she puts her hand on his shoulder and he turns and he's like, he's a zombie. Oh my God. That was like,
wow.
that was really that scared the crap out of me. But I still knew that zombies weren't real, and I knew that wasn't real. However, the Boogens, I did not think that was not real. I
You were
mean,
like, ooh, that's a
right,
possibility.
right, because the basement looked just like our basement and all that. So, I keep going back to that, and I was always worried too. When my bed was against the wall, in a couple of my childhood homes, the beds were against the wall, and I would always sleep facing out because in case a monster came over the side of the bed to attack me, I would
Hmm.
see it. You see, I would be prepared to fight to the death or whatever. But when I was like 10, we temporarily moved in to this house where it was a twin bed and it was like in the middle of the room. So both sides, a monster could come up from under the bed and like attack me, grab me, whatever. And I
Oh
mean, I would just
boy.
lay there like terrified and I wouldn't move, like I don't know where that came from, honestly. I don't know why I thought something was under the bed or something was going to kill me in the dark. I had no reason to believe that, you know?
But most people thought similar things. And don't you think it came from some kind of cartoons or Scooby-Doo or something must have told us this stuff? Because why did we all think the same thing?
Yeah, I know. That's a really good point. I don't I don't think it came from a cartoon because none of those scared me. And I was so aware that it was just a cartoon. But definitely TV and movies. And there were a couple of, my dad always watched the news at night, and I would sit and watch the news with him.
Oh, for goodness
And
sake.
freaking John Wayne Gacy, the clown serial killer, right? They found like
Oh my
33
gosh.
bodies in his crawl space. I watched that news broadcast when they arrested John Wayne Gacy. And that was my first, like, oh my gosh, people can look normal and then be serial killers? Like, it's not just monsters. It's
Oh,
not just
that's
some turtle
bad.
creature that's going to kill you. It could be like a guy that you thought was your nice neighbor. Turns out he's got this dark secret.
My first, I was 11 when they caught the Night Stalker, and that was the first time. That was in my neighborhood.
Oh,
It was around LA. It was in the city right next to mine. He kind of went all around the San Fernando Valley and East LA, downtown LA. He was around our neighborhood, and my parents kind of told us, they were like, look, we got to shut the windows. And there was a heat wave. So normally in the valley, everybody opens their windows at night because it's like 100 degrees at night, But we all had to shut our windows. I had a hammer in my bed. I was like, this guy is, I don't know. I actually got real information on it, and they kind of let me hear about it, or I sought it out. And it was the first time I realized, oh, somebody could come in your window legitimately, and there was no rhyme or reason to this guy. He was writing stuff on the wall with your blood, like just doing really weird things.
yeah. Was that Richard Ramirez?
It was Richard Ramirez,
Yeah,
and there
okay.
was a lot of police sketches of him popping up, interrupting your programming. I don't think you could really avoid the media coverage even as a kid. And the sketch scared me. And it's kind of interesting because the police sketch was on the cover of every magazine, and some lady in LA saw him and in Spanish was screaming, the monster, or whatever. And everybody started chasing him, and the public actually caught him
Oh my
and
God.
beat the crap out of him. So when
Wow.
they arrested him, he had a big bandage over his head and he was
Like
bleeding. Like
vigilante.
they beat a crowd of people, ran and beat the tar out of him.
Wow.
And he was caught. But that was a big terror in my neighborhood. And that's when I realized, okay, I'm not actually safe from everything, from my parents. Stuff happens.
So wait, your parents didn't say to you, like, well, we're going to close the windows, but it's fine. He's nowhere
No,
near. They didn't give you that
they were
reassurance.
like, this is some serious ass shit.
Maybe
They did not take the
rethink that
hammer
test.
out of my bed. They were like, keep that hammer in your bed. You might need it.
Well, see, now that's another point too. I always thought, like I was so vigilant, facing the right way if the murderer or the monster was going to come get me. I mean, I never fought anything. Like, I don't know what I was going to do. And yet somehow I thought if I saw this thing, I'd somehow know what to do. So, did you practice with the hammer, or you just,
Probably. See, now my husband would say, I'll get a gun and shoot that guy. Don't worry about it. But my dad did not say that. My dad did not make me feel like he would handle the situation whatsoever, and neither did my mom. So I was like, I better be prepared.
I got to take care of this myself?
Yeah, it was frightening.
So,
It was
but like when you were a kid, were there any movies that you saw, or other than watching like a news story about the Night Stalker or something?
I actually saw the slightest clip of one scary movie, and I have not been able to identify what it was.
Describe. Tell us.
There's only one scene, you guys.
Okay.
So on my TV, it was the 13 channels. And when you hit the 0 channel, it was, I don't know, I thought it was PBS, but there was some other channels that came in
Yeah,
sometimes.
PBS would not show a horror movie.
Right. So it was kind of some kind of a teen thing.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, it was a girl screaming. I could swear it was Kim Richards or somebody. Girl screaming. Teenagers trying to break into her house, shattering her windows.
Were they zombies or they were live?
They look like regular
Oh, okay.
kids just terrorizing a girl who was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
They showed her scream and a close shot of her face, and there was blood in a circle around her eye. and then I turned the channel, and it scared me for like 10 years. Somebody,
Really?
somebody messaged me and tell me what the heck that was.
Right?
Bloody eye.
Yeah. Twitter,
Teenagers trying
Glitter
to
Bee
break in.
Girls, or Instagram, Glitter Bee Girls. You guys, if you know what movie this is, yeah, I can't think of what movie. It doesn't ring a bell with me.
And I
Um,
thought, who tries to?
and
I
what
thought, is
year
that a
would this have
thing?
been?
Looked
What
like
years?
79, 79
Okay.
or 80.
Okay.
It could have been a rerun from something earlier. And I remember thinking, is this a thing with teenagers? Because on that same channel, they showed two boys looking at some playing cards. And on the playing cards were pictures of Playboy girls. And there's boobs and stuff. And I thought, oh, is
Boobs.
that what teenagers do? They look at that. And then the next day I saw the other thing. So I thought, this is the world of teenagers. If they don't like you, they're going to. They had 2x4s and they were shattering out the girls' windows with
Was
2x4s
she
because
in
what?
her bedroom, like her
She
girl
was in a
teenage girl's
bedroom,
room? Oh, okay.
and they just were going for it. And I thought, is this a thing? I don't want to be a teenager.
Do you think it was Warriors?
I don't know.
I wonder if it was Warriors.
But
Well,
yeah, it scared me to be a teenager because I thought that was a legitimate retaliation.
yeah.
If a teenager didn't like you, they're going to come shatter your windows and you're going to have blood on your eye. So it freaked me out.
I wonder, I was never scared of being a teenager, but I don't know why. Because I saw, I mean, who knows why, but I was allowed to watch, especially on HBO and stuff. I would watch
HBO.
these horror movies and, R rated things and all this. But I would see, the Friday the 13th, which is all the teenagers at the summer camp, and the Boogens, which was older kids, but nonetheless, it's like they just get knocked off one by one. And then you had Halloween, which to me is one of the greatest, like, horror movies ever made, right? And the teenagers all get knocked off one by one. But I don't know. I guess I always thought that I would be one of the ones that survived. Like, I would be the girl at the end who's like the last one standing, and the cops come, and then they wrap me up in a blanket, and I'm just crying. For some reason, I always figured that would be me. So I wasn't
That's good.
scared to be the. But I still wouldn't go in the basement. Like at our one house, it was kind of a cabin type house, and so the basement it had two levels, and one of the levels had a really low ceiling, and it was all limestone walls, and they had these like little swinging light bulbs, with a
Oh my
rickety
gosh.
switch and stuff. It was really scary, very damp, and there was a ton of junk down there, like wood and old equipment and stuff. So there were all these shadows and dark spaces. And then in the back of this one room that had a really low ceiling, it was only a little higher than a crawl space. There was no light. So it was only the front half of the room that had light. And then if you wanted stuff in the back, you had to get a flashlight and go in there. Like that was, oh my God. If my mom said to me, go downstairs and go look for this, blah, 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 and I knew I had to go into that room, I mean, I would like go in my room and straighten everything up and get ready because, they were gonna never see me again. And then like I was just so friggin' scared of the dark in the basement. It was very strange.
Just the unknown.
Yeah, but never. I don't know. I wasn't afraid of being growing up and being a teenager. But you know what? You're right. It did make me feel aware that bad stuff can happen in non-scary places. Like Halloween, a lot of the scariness takes place in these really cute suburban homes and even in the daylight, like places that are supposed to be safe, which makes the movie so great as a horror film. But I I'd walk home from school by myself down this long driveway through the woods. And I
Oh my
remember always
goodness.
thinking like I wasn't afraid of like animals or, some mountain lion or something. I was afraid that Michael Myers was going to jump out from some tree, and there was the murderer thing. Yeah, I wonder I'll have to go to therapy about that. Like Why is it that humans were going to kill me outside, but monsters were going to kill me inside my own house? I wonder what that
Yeah.
means.
I don't know. But yes. And I think I've told you in other episodes, my sister and I had several different cars try to abduct us, pull over to the side of the road while we're walking in from school. Have I told you guys that?
Well, you alluded to it, but you never like, was it the same guys that just weren't getting caught and they kept trying, or was it different people?
I don't know. It was just different creepy people. It was just kind of a theme in my childhood where there would be somebody who goes real slow. You want to ride, kids? And we run. And I feel like getting abducted was probably my main fear after just this happening 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, well, that's understandable. I mean,
And I think it was a real
that's
actual
real
thing to actually be afraid of.
Yeah, like that's not you watched a after school special about some girl that got abducted. Like that almost happened. That's really scary.
And there was always somebody missing. It actually was kind of scary in my area.
Yeah.
I think it was a legitimate thing. And I guess I was nervous of people climbing in my windows and murdering me, like, to this day. That's what I'm afraid of.
Well, I think as adults, especially adult women, we never really let go of that completely. Like, I don't know any adult women, even the women I know who have their lives all together, and they're killing it. I don't know anybody that if they were in a house by themselves would turn out that last light and not get a little twinge, like I feel vulnerable, like I think that's just something instilled in women, and maybe it's the result of all this cultural stuff and horror movies or real life happenings like for you. But I think those are legit fears, and we all handle them a little bit different. I also, when I was a little kid, had a very, very crazy fear of something happening to my parents.
Oh, of course.
Like I remember one night I stayed at my cousin's house. Shout out Michelle.
Shout out Michelle.
Right. Shout out Michelle. And so like my parents went out or something. It was when they were still married. So my aunt was watching me and my brother at their house, the whole sleepover thing. And I got up in the middle of the night. I think it was like 3:00 in the morning. And I was staring out the window, watching the cars go by on the street outside. And I was terrified that something was going to happen to my parents. And my aunt got up and she was like, "What are you doing?" Because I'm just like staring out the window. Can you imagine waking up and seeing this little 7-8-year-old kid like staring out the window?
I have seen that with sleepovers. I have had kids
have you
feel like that. A lot of kids do that in the middle of the night.
Actually. Yeah, I don't know why, because at that point there was nothing in my life that contributed to that. But I remember it being a really legitimate kind of anxiety fear, very specific anxiety fear that, maybe it was some abandonment thing or I don't know.
Aww.
Yeah. And the other thing I was also really afraid of was
what?
I had a super fear of bees and like hornets and wasps.
Of course.
Like
they were scary.
If I was sitting outside at somebody's house and a bee buzzed by, it was like a supernatural or like a cartoon thing where I would just go and all that would be left is a puff of smoke because I would be gone. And I got stung a lot. And
we talked about how much you've gotten stung and how much I've gotten stung.
Yeah, but it didn't make you afraid? Like when you were a kid, if a bee came by, you were just like, bee.
Yeah, I was like, whatever.
Oh, no,
I had other things to worry about. I'm about to get abducted, so I'm good with the bee. I was good. I was like, whatever.
You got your eye on the van that's driving.
I was like, I'm
slowing
about to
up.
get killed to a bee sting. I'll just go to the nurse.
Yeah, no, I don't know why I was so afraid of it, but yeah.
It hurt. It hurt. The bee stings hurt. And also on a lot of cartoons, and you say, oh, I know they were cartoons, but I'm talking when we were really little and
Yeah.
we kind of just absorbed things. I remember on Mighty Mouse, I remember on Tom and Jerry, a lot of the really old Heckle and Jekyll and Woody Woodpecker, there was always bees, killer bees, and they always were so much worse than real bees. Like they were killer bees.
Well,
I think that went into our head.
that was a big thing in the 70s. Was there in I can't remember where they originated. Um
They were in a
maybe
lot of cartoons, and so was quicksand. And I know there's a meme going around like, I thought quicksand was going to be in my life a lot more than it really was. But getting sunken in quicksand and falling in manholes were two things I became worried of after seeing like Batman and Robin,
now
and those
what
series.
okay, this is a legit question.
Hmm.
What is quicksand? Is that like water and sand, or is it like a sinkhole in sand? So it's actually a dry
I think
hole
it's a
of sand that you
sinkhole,
sink
and
into.
I think it's a sinkhole, and you just can't get out of it, and you just become. We should Google it though. You just totally become, according to the television shows, it's very slow, and you're like, what? And it's like cement, and you can't get yourself
Yeah,
out.
you like
I
if
feel
you
like
I know that if you fell with your arms at your sides, you couldn't get them up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know what the deal is. I'm gonna Google it, and you tell me something.
Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you another thing. On the
What?
opposite side of the ecological spectrum, I had a super fear of falling through ice, like skating on an
Oh,
icy pond. And we lived on a quarry for a while. And every winter, my dad would go out there with this metal walker, and because it would freeze over, and he would go out there and make sure, the ice was safe. And we would set up our little hockey nets and our ice skates and everything. But I was pretty convinced that at some point, I would be standing there like, "Hey, you guys!" And then you would hear the crack, because ice makes this moaning sound when it cracks, and then it would just swallow me up, and then I'd be in cold water. Nothing scared me more. Not the Boogens,
ooh,
not nothing scared me more than cold, like ice cold water being submerged.
wow.
It was so weird. And I was surprised that we made it out of that house without me falling in the ice.
You were like, I can't believe this. All right, quicksand is a colloid consisting of fine, granular materials such as sand, silt, or clay, and water, as you said.
Oh, okay.
Quicksand forms in saturated loose sand when the sand is suddenly agitated. When the water in the sand cannot escape, it creates a liquefied soil that loses strength and cannot support weight. So studies have found it impossible actually to be completely submerged in quicksand because humans are less dense than quicksand. And a person would only sink to their chest before they begin to float. But what can make quicksand deadly is its ability to trap and hold unsuspecting victims. So it's a thing, guys.
See, that whole thing sounds made up. That whole description of quicksand
It's a
sounds like
thing.
something from the Bionic Man or like, some made up James Bond thing.
But Britannica.com says, you know what, it's a nuisance, but it's basically impossible to actually die in the way that's
But
depicted in
where is
movies.
it? Is it on the beach? Is it in the desert? Like how
Where is it?
where do you find
I'm gonna find out.
quicksand? Where's the danger? Is
You
it
know what? I'll
is it
tell you.
outside my door?
Because
Do I have to go in search
somebody
of it?
actually asked, where is quicksand? Do you want to know where,
Yeah, I want to know where.
everybody? Quicksand is usually found in hollows at the mouths of large rivers or along flat stretches of streams or beaches where pools of water become partially filled with sand.
Oh, okay.
That didn't really answer, but
So you've got to be like trudging around in a creek bed or on the beach. Is it on the beach? So you
it's
can
on a
be,
beach. That's, to me, that's what this is telling me.
that's another fear actually that extended to adulthood
What?
is jellyfish. Swimming in
Ooh.
the ocean and
I
getting
see
like
those things everywhere.
swimming
Yeah.
face first into a jellyfish. Like that scared the crap out of me.
There's always a lot of jellyfish on our beaches here in California that wash up. And they look just like a plastic bag, so you like kick it, and then you're like, oh shit, I just kicked a jellyfish. So yeah.
Have you ever
There's
been stung by a jellyfish?
no, but I've seen them quite a lot.
yeah, I don't know, that just scares me. Like I now that I think about it, I think a lot of these fears have not the basement. I mean, I can go in, I can go into a basement now and I'm pretty solid. I'm pretty good.
Are you?
Yeah, yeah, I'm good. I'm aware there might be a errant vermin or,
Uh-huh.
some creature, but like a little bat, rat, whatever, snake. But yeah, I no longer fear the Boogens,
That's
largely
good.
because they set off a bunch of TNT and closed all the openings and sealed the monsters inside the mine. So we're pretty much safe unless some idiot goes and tries to open up that mine again,
See, that
you
doesn't
know?
feel right to me. I need them to all be like gassed out or like something blows up where they're all dead in there. I can't have it where they're alive in there, just trapped. That
Well,
just,
there was a
ugh.
large explosion, but I don't
Ugh,
think that
how
all
aren't
the
you guys?
monsters died. I think they're still swimming around and living in those mine shafts.
Yeah, I can't do that. That just makes me feel like, ugh. Yeah, ugh.
Yeah.
That's gross. It's gross.
So, how about um aliens? Like, did when you were little, did you have any alien fears or ideas of evil aliens, or did you think aliens were our friends? What was your alien experience?
I didn't get scared about aliens until it was the 90s and I was like 21 and people were smoking bong loads around me going, an alien actually came to my house once when I was a kid. Like people started telling me actual stories of like this bright light. And when I started hearing stories that could have been true, that's when I started worrying about it. Not as a kid.
Okay.
Not as a kid. But
Well,
yeah, later on I was like, wait a second, this shit sounds real. What about
I
you?
I saw Close Encounters when I was a kid, which of course, they visit and then people get on board, and go away. And that I think that sort of scared me a little bit because I thought, wow, if an alien came and took me, then I would probably never get home. I'd probably never come back, right? So that kind of scared me a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
the way I saw it was, if there was an alien ship that was like coming down, you would pretty much have a lot of lead time, to hide under the bed, go in the closet, run and find mom. Like I just feel like aliens aren't sudden anything, like they don't just pop up. I
Well, in
feel,
my childhood, it was all about E.T., which was I think 1981, and we
yeah.
were presented with a really lovely little sweet alien who ate
Yeah.
Reese's Pieces. So we were all my whole age group was like, "Yay, E.T.!" Like we were not scared of aliens specifically because of E.T., the extraterrestrial.
Yeah, I don't think that it was a specific fear of aliens, but I did see a lot of reruns of old 50s and 60s black and white movies on TV where the aliens were evil. Like I remember one. Okay, here's my girl with the circle around her eye. I remember this one black and white movie from the
Uh-oh.
50s, and this alien hand, like they cut the hand off this alien, and the
Ooh.
hand kept living, and like the hand was like crawling after, and it crawled up. There was this couple like making out in a car, and the alien crawled up the car, the side of the door, and then like came in through the window. And that really scared me. Like I thought, oh my god, if there are alien hands out there and you can't even kill it by cutting it in half, like how do you kill
Ooh.
it? Because the body parts just kept on going. So I should
Oh
find
my
that movie and find
goodness.
out how they got rid of those aliens. That's the
That would
benefit of
scare
the
me.
Boogans.
And were you ever scared of the traditional vampire, Dracula, Frankenstein, werewolf? Because I
No.
just thought of the groovy ghoulies and Halloween. Like none of that ever really scared me.
Yeah, any of the Halloween type villains, like you mentioned, that ghosts, I don't know. I was more intrigued than scared by ghosts. Like as a kid, I was scared at the same time, but I also wanted to see one really badly. Like it was kind of a, it's kind of a can't look away type thing. But I was never
Mm.
afraid of a vampire because I just didn't believe they existed at all. I thought, no,
Mhm.
that's a total Hollywood construct. And then Frankenstein, I felt like I could talk to Frankenstein and I
Well,
could
because we
talk him
saw the
out of hurting me.
Munsters. I felt like we saw Herman Munster and he was funny. And every time I thought of Frankenstein, I just saw Herman Munster. So I thought he was amiable
Right.
and affable and a
That's a
jovial
really good
guy.
point. No, that's a good point because the Munsters, yeah, they deterred the monsters, right? Like they were these lovable people
And the
and
Groovy Ghoulies and the cereals. Count Chocula. Everything
right,
was kind of
like these cartoon villains.
mhm.
Yeah,
It,
yeah, you're right. But if it was a monster that had any type of conscience, like Frankenstein or any one of these monsters like King Kong, who had a soft spot for Jessica Lange, like it I always assumed that I would somehow be able to psychologically, talk to that monster and talk him out of murdering me
wow, you
somehow.
had
I
you had faith in
Yeah, I thought
yourself.
I was pretty damn clever. Like I thought, no,
Wow.
no, if I just explain to him and I'll understand and I understand his pain. I thought I was that kid.
Wow. I
So
like that.
yeah, I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid of them. I was afraid, um, sort of in theory, of the Loch Ness Monster.
Well, it was in water and it was dark and
Yeah, it was like murky, dark water,
yeah, it was a
right?
little strange.
And
Uh-huh.
all the weird, blurry photographs, and this they would show the little head sticking out, but then they would have a drawing of the big giant monster underneath.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Oof.
I was
Heebie-jeebies on
really
that
afraid of
one.
that, but not afraid of Bigfoot. I thought Bigfoot was a
Oh,
guy wearing
yeah.
a suit, like
I
a
wasn't
fur
afraid of
suit.
Bigfoot. I was never afraid of going into I was in the ocean my whole life. I was never afraid of sharks or any kind of anything in the ocean. I don't know why.
Even after you saw Jaws?
I never saw Jaws. Never saw any
What?
scary movies. None. I specifically turned away from scary movies. I knew I would have nightmares. And I specifically did not want to have nightmares. They were too much for me after that friggin' Get Smart business.
Well, you were a smarter girl than I, because I soaked it up and I paid the price.
My sister watched every one of those movies and had nightmares her entire life.
Yeah, I
I
still
was
do.
not going to do it.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
yeah. I mean, my nightmares are different now. Like the recurring one that I have, which I guess is a stress dream,
Mm.
is I dream that I am in school. I'm not school age. I'm the same age now, but
I
I'm
have the
in
same dream.
college. And I look at my schedule, and it turns out there are two classes I just never went to all semester.
I
And I was
had that
like, oh
dream
my
last
God.
week. Yep.
Yeah, isn't that weird? It's like dreaming. It's the dreaming your teeth fall out, dreaming
Yep.
your hair falls out. Those kinds of things. They're all like just stress
A lot of
manifestations.
airport dreams where I'm late for flights, and a lot of
Yes,
dreams
the
where I'm at a
airport.
college and I'm either on roller skates at the college and I can't find the classes. It's usually I can't find the counseling office or I can't find the classroom or there's two classes I never went to and the thing's about to end, what you just said.
Yeah,
Lots of airport dreams where I'm packing and waiting on people or I realize, oh my gosh, my flight's in 1 hour and I'm 2 hours away. Lots of dreams like that.
yeah, yeah. I think that's the grown-up version, of the Boogens. It's like you grow up and suddenly you have stress and bills and responsibilities and instead of being afraid of like this turtle eel in the basement, now you're afraid of like failing these two classes because you just forgot to go.
I just looked up this disgusting lizard eel slash turtle.
Boogens.
You failed to mention that it had blood on it also. Ew.
Well, because it ate a bunch of people.
That's friggin'
Yeah,
disgusting.
and it also eats a dog. They killed a
Ew, and
dog
they
in the
showed the
movie.
cute dog
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
We, ew, guys, there was blood on it.
yeah.
I'm
Well, he
fortunate
he
for
he
this.
comes out of the little
Ew.
mine shaft annex that's inexplicably in this basement, and he just he attacks you with all those teeth, and
Colorado's
the
all
talons.
mining. Colorado's such a mining town, so they had to do mining.
Yeah.
Every theme in Aspen is like the mining thing. Everything's all about mining and ooh,
Gold.
scary.
It's gold. Well, so Aim, we're out of time.
Oh,
I know.
Rob.
Happens every time, but it catches me by surprise because I always have a good time, don't you?
I do.
Right?
I do.
So, well, thanks you guys for listening to our discussion of childhood fears. And please, if you can identify the film that Amy mentioned with the girl who had a circle of, was it blood, Aim?
I thought it was blood. It was red.
Red circle around her eye, and her fellow teenagers bashing in, not zombies, by the way, just teenagers, bashing through the window with 2x4s. Hit us up on Instagram, GlitterBeeGirls, or Twitter, GlitterBeeGirls, and let us know, and we would greatly appreciate it. So thanks for joining us, though, and we will see you next time. I'm Robbie-Ann McPherson on the East Coast.
I'm Amy Asberg on the West Coast.
See you later, guys.
Bye, everybody.